Hey everyone, it's Brother Hiram. Before we get started today, I just want to give you a content warning for this episode. In this episode, we speak about sensitive topics of a sexual nature, including manipulation, coercive control, sexual assault, and sexuality. This episode may not be appropriate for those under the age of 18. Those who may find this content distressing are asked to refrain from listening to this episode. We want all of our listeners to feel safe and heard, so if you would like to reach out, please do so at onceuponamormon@gmail.com. If at any time you feel that you are struggling, we encourage you to reach out to your local helpline. In Australia, one helpful option is Lifeline on 13 11 14. Again, that's Lifeline on 13 11 14.
I believe the church is in better condition than it has been at any time in its entire history. My beloved brethren and sisters,
welcome to Once Upon
a Mormon,
another testament of religious abuse.
So many have been hurt.
Persecutions may rage, mobs may combine.
whom shall we go?
Sown in corruption. We need you.
Never again.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, welcome back to another episode of Once Upon a Mormon. Hey, I am again joined by the lovely sisters plural, my sisters in wives. Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. Did you ever watch that movie?
No.
It was a classic growing up.
Wow.
What about Calamity Jane?
No.
What was that movie with the guy who like he had to pay, like it was like 7 cow bride guy.
Mahoney, you ugly. Johnny Lingo.
That's it.
That's the one.
That's a classic.
Wow.
Was that a Mormon movie?
Yeah.
Like where did
Pretty
that
sure it
come
was.
from?
I'm a 10-cow woman.
Yeah.
10 cows.
10 cows.
I'm pretty sure it was Mormon based.
Yeah.
I mean, God,
There's
like
something about our self-worth or some bullshit.
yeah, man. If somebody doesn't like offer me 10 cows to marry me, like they're just not good
I'm
enough.
Definitely worth 10 cows.
Now we know
Yeah.
what your ex-husband's issue was. He didn't offer cows.
You didn't give me 10
No
cows.
cows.
Rude. Not even chickens, man. Like what the hell?
You can't even have eggs.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
I've added sound effects now.
I'm so funny. It reminds me of what was that? Everybody Loves Raymond.
Oh yeah. Amazing.
We're like a full-on radio host
We've got
now.
the production going.
Could you
Yeah.
imagine? Guys,
Wait
let's
till
start
I-
a radio station.
Wait
do
until I
it.
start editing this.
Fuck yeah. This is going to be awesome.
Well, today we're going to have a little chitty chat. So our last episode was our episode 23 for 2023.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of a new year, new me. So
Yeah.
I thought...
New year, same me. Oh wait, no. New year, new me. Only I'm worse.
How
Same.
much worse can it get in 2022? Well, 2023 is going to prove us.
Just
Can
wait till
But
I
again-
deconstruct all of my trauma and I become like a bad bitch who's like, fuck all y'all.
This is my bad bitch era, okay? Where's your need, all right?
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking maybe today, we'd planned to talk about this like yonkers ago.
Yonkies, yeah. It's been a long time coming.
It has.
Yeah.
And we're finally together. And
I remember like in one of my very first planning moments that we had together, we had this episode planned.
this was going to
and-
be like episode 6.
Yeah.
That went well.
Sorry, guys.
we just wanted to do this episode justice, I think, because it's a really
Yeah.
deep
It's really important.
trigger warning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of our listeners that may be triggered by talk of sexual nature, sexual abuse, and abuse within the Mormon Church, viewers beware.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, the topic of the day is law of chastiddies.
Chase those titties.
We called it that early on, and it's just stuck.
So good.
Like
It's never going to leave.
no, it's not.
No.
It's a pretty loaded topic, though. Like,
Yeah.
the law of chastity within the church is something that really has a massive level of control over its members. Like
Absolutely.
You've got the word of wisdom. You've got, the law of tithing. You've got law of consecration. You've got all these little bits and pieces.
So many laws on top of the laws of the land. Like, bitch.
Laws on laws on laws on laws.
But the law of chastity.
With the in-laws.
Well, not with the in-laws.
Please God, not with the in-laws.
But this one, it's something that really takes it to a personal level.
Yeah.
I remember as a youth learning about the law of chastity, and at first I'd been conditioned my whole life not to really know too much about sex. But then when those hormones start hitting and you go to a public school, it's not like the States where it's majority Mormon. It's like I'm one of the only ones. You learn a lot at school.
Fuck yeah, man. Like, most of my sexual education did not come from church or my parents or any formalized, sex class. It was all, just fucking...
Peer reviewed.
I have a story.
Talking to my classmates. I remember... I think I was in grade 4. Yeah, I think I remember this distinctly. A friend of mine... We were literally at the bag racks and... I don't know if that's a thing in the States because you guys have got lockers and stuff. Anyway, we were putting our bags away and my friend was like, oh, fuck. My friend was like, Sister Donna.
So for context, although people have started to sort of know who we are, we're still
you don't.
You don't really know us. But keeping in theme with the podcast, we still strive to maintain anonymity. Anonymity. And that way, whenever we have guests on the podcast, they get that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, my friend turned to me and she said, Donna, do you know where babies come from?
Oh, Jesus. Sweet baby Jesus.
And I'm just
Loaded question. Storks in the sky.
I don't know. And she's like, Donna, sex makes babies. And I'm like, what? And I would have been in grade 4. What age is that? 9, I think? I think I was 9. And my friend, my school friend, the same age, was the one who told me that sex is what makes babies. And it was such a revelation to me. I'm like, oh my gosh.
You what?
What?
So, Brother May and I actually went to primary school and high school together.
Oh, dear.
We had HPE together, and so I remember in grade 8 or 9, because we've always been best friends.
Yeah.
Regular class, walk in, sit down next to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fucking sex ed class.
Yeah.
And we have to watch this video about penises and boobs. And I remember we stopped and just looked at each other and then looked away super awkward. That's a core memory. Watching
we should bring
these
Brother May
boobs
out for
bouncing
this.
on TV.
Brother May.
I think you would die inside.
You can probably hear us.
Sorry, Brother May.
Yeah. No, I because obviously in the church, there's no sex education at all.
No.
Zero. It's
You do
frowned
not
upon.
talk about it at all.
It's just don't fucking do it until you're married, okay? That's all you need to know.
But that's the funny thing. It's don't do it. You don't know what you're not doing. But
Yeah.
it's
I remember hearing stories about married couples and when they first get married, because you don't talk about sex. They kind of just oh, okay, now what do we... I heard about one couple that used a whole bottle of lube their first night.
Whoa. Holy
Because they
shit.
didn't know how much to
What
use.
do they do? Drink it?
Yeah.
They're
hearing it being holy
all
shit.
we've heard is that we need to use lube.
Yeah.
Let's lube this baby up.
Or another couple going to a doctor and they're like, we just don't enjoy sex. And apparently they were just sticking it in and just lying there.
Soaking.
Yeah, well, that's a big thing in Utah, right?
Apparently. So I've been told.
Yeah.
So we've heard from BYU.
Yeah. That's the funny thing is, just imagine, you've been waiting for this your whole life. You've had all these feelings inside. You get married and it's that first night and you get there, get undressed, you're getting all hot and heavy. And then you turn to your wife. What do I do now?
Dude, I remember, so one time, I think this might have been in grade 7 or grade 8. So I would have been like, how old is that?
No idea.
12, maybe 11. I don't know. For a long time, like, I sort of thought that, because I didn't realize, like, how deep the vagina was at all.
Okay, all right.
Like, so I was like, okay, so, like, sex happens, but I guess, like, the guy must just, like, put, like, I don't think it goes up very far. Like, it must just be, like, the tip that goes in. And I remember, like, I was at a sleepover with at a friend's house, and this was during a time where I was, like, I don't know, like, you know, I'm like pubescent, I suppose, like just starting out, and like it was a bit fucking weird. Like her and her brother were like, I think just for a laugh, were like looking up porn, and like because they had their mum, like they knew their mum's like a password to RedTube or whatever. And so this was like my first. So this is my first introduction into like seeing sex, and I was like, oh my god, the whole thing goes in. Like I didn't realize penises could get that big, and also like how does it just like all fit in? Like, it was a huge revelation to me. I'm like, oh my god,
Where did it go?
where did it go?
Let's play hide the sausage.
My friends, okay, when I was like 18, 19, I had some friends that we were just a bunch of fucking bogans. We'd always make these stupid jokes. And that was one of our things, like, let's hide the pickle. Just super inappropriate.
Oh god. Yeah, what a time. Anyway, sorry.
Well, that's the essence of it. We can laugh now because, you know, at the time it was very, very serious.
Yeah.
Like just, you know, you start from the very basis of it is no sexual relations before marriage.
Yeah.
And that itself, you know, it's like, okay, you know, that's in society that used to be somewhat acceptable. Now it's not as common. But growing up, I remember that was the norm. You know, no sex before marriage. Yeah. And people that did have sex before marriage probably shouldn't say that online.
They were
say some things.
Sinners. Yeah.
Sodomites.
I don't know if that's any better.
No. But that's the thing is, it's, you know, it was always taught that was the epitome.
Yeah.
And that having sex before marriage is just no, don't do it.
I mean, I remember, all the big talks about, like, oh, you have to save yourself for your husband.
Yeah, you got to remain pure. But I also, the other thing I remember learning was that, like, in terms of the seriousness of sins, it was, like, murder was, like, number 1, and number 2 was breaking the law of chastity. So, like, like, stealing and, like, you know, bearing false witness or like dishonoring God, like using his name in vain, like none of that really mattered. You know, torturing somebody like was not as serious.
As long as you're not having sex.
Yeah, like that was not as serious as having sex outside of marriage. Like I remember, I think we might have had it might have been at a bishop's youth discussion or something like that, and they were sort of saying how like the 2 greatest sins have to do with life and how like taking away life and then also messing with like procreative powers. So like, you know, the risk of getting pregnant and bringing a child into the world before being married was like as almost as serious as taking away a life, like killing somebody, which looking back on now I think is absolutely absurd. Like, what the fuck?
Like, I want to get to the, like, the fear side of it shortly.
Yeah.
But I guess for those that aren't too familiar with the law of chastity, this is directly from the LDS website. It's physical intimacy between husband and wife is a beautiful and sacred part of God's plan for his children. It is an expression of love within marriage and allows husband and wife to participate in the creation of life.
Sorry, Brother Hiram.
No sex for me.
Ever.
God has commanded that his sacred power be expressed only between a man. They're very, very persistent with man and woman
Yup.
who are legally married. The law of chastity applies to both men and women. Only men and women.
Oh, no, there we go. Then you're fine.
Oh, yeah.
Men and men.
The gays and theys.
Yep, there we go.
The law of chastity applies. It includes strict abstinence from sexual relations before marriage and complete fidelity and loyalty to one spouse after marriage, unless you're Joseph Smith.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Then it changes.
Then you can do whatever you want.
Exactly.
Unless it was like 100 years ago and you could have as many wives as you wanted.
As long as you're married to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It helps if you're the one marrying. In addition to reserving sexual intimacy for marriage, we obey the law of chastity by controlling our thoughts, words, and actions. Jesus Christ taught, "Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, Thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say unto you, that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her in his heart."
Oh, wow, they actually said that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, the law of chastity extended beyond, like, my understanding of it was not like, it's not just sex between, like, it's not just sex that's banned before marriage, but like looking at porn, masturbation,
Intimate kissing.
Well, actually, I don't know.
Not soaking there.
My understanding was like anything that like aroused any sort of sexual feelings within yourself. Like any heavy petting or like intense makeouts. Like I remember hearing, who was it? Oh, I think sister, what was her name? She was a seminary teacher in our ward at one point.
My seminary teacher?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And I remember that she was saying how when she was dating her husband, literally like they had not kissed until like I think a day before they'd gotten married or something, because they were like, like she's like, we haven't even kissed yet, and I'm like scared about like not being able to do it right when we like
not being able to kiss right?
Yeah, like after getting married or something. Like they were so scared about feeling like they'd broken the law of chastity by even kissing. So like they didn't kiss, like their first kiss was literally like, I don't know if it was on their wedding day or like the day before their wedding day, but like, whoa.
You'd be pretty shit at it.
Yeah. And like, oh man, like looking back, like there's just so much pressure to stay morally clean. And the thing is, like, even the idea of like lusting after somebody and like having impure thoughts was as bad as doing
You pretty much
deed.
just killed someone.
Yeah, basically. So like, yeah, this whole purity culture is insane. And of course, as like somebody going, like, as a young person going through puberty, like you cannot control like all of the, urges that you have. These are normal, natural, like feelings that, occur as your body develops and stuff. And like, being told that you have to shove that down, ignore it completely, focus on God, like that is fucking tough. And like, I think near impossible for anyone really. Like, yeah.
Like as you get older, I think especially when you're in a comfortable, stable relationship, sex drive isn't as peaked as it would be outside of that. But for teenagers who are just going through this, who are just starting to experience this, that's the biggest time for them of change.
Absolutely.
And like I look at it as though the church so heavily pushes on teenagers because if they can get control over that, they can get everything.
Pretty much, yeah. Like if you can convince like a teenager to not like
Jerk
act
off
on any of their like normal bodily urges, yeah, you could pretty much control them in absolutely anything, really.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cat, we're not going to eat the headphone case.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's hugging my leg.
She just loves you.
Apparently.
And like, you know, Sister May and I don't know how many of these sort of lessons you might have had, Brother Hiram, in Young Men's, but like I do think there is a bit of a difference like in the way that women, like young women in the church, are sort of taught about the law of chastity compared to young men. Like,
well, that's a good point. Like looking back at it now, my question is how much of it was taught to please the man and to be prepared for the man?
I was just thinking that, like, when you read that article from the website, when they were like, oh, if any man lusts after a woman, then he's already committed adultery. But then Jeffrey R. Holland going on, like, you know, women, if you wear immodest clothing, you are pornography, and like being told that we had to take responsibility for the men's thoughts and actions on us.
It was our responsibility to not let men lust after us.
But then 2 seconds later, they're like, oh no, like we are all responsible for our own actions. And it's like, wait, what?
Yeah. I'm like, dude, I can't wear shorts.
Confucia.
Yeah, like I can't wear shorts above my knee because some man is going to look at me and be
that's
like,
a nice knee.
oh my God, I've just committed adultery in my heart. That whore.
even then, like, look at the temple ordinances, you know, cleave unto your husband and he'll talk to God. You know, as long as he's talking to God, you're right.
Yeah, that's another thing, because it's all like the women are to submit to their husbands, but then the husbands only submit to God.
Yes.
And I'm like, what the fuck?
It really, like, and yeah, I think it's really hard because there's a lot of like conflicting sort of ideas that women are sort of taught, like as they're brought up in the church, which is like, yes, be submissive to all men, but also do not break the law of chastity. And like, if a man is like pressuring you into doing something that you feel is a sin, but also like they're the one that's telling you should do it, and you've been taught your whole life to honor and respect this man because he's a man and he's got the priesthood or whatever, like, you know, there's this whole like conflict going on in your mind where you're just like, oh, what do I do now? And yeah, and I think it really opens up a lot of opportunity for like really awful things to happen, where young women have their boundaries crossed and they, and then are like living with this shame, like because they feel like they have, you know, made themselves impure or done the wrong thing or whatever, when, you know, it might not have been really their choice to begin with. And
the fact that they just don't care about it either. So I have had personal experience with that. And so I just opened up to my therapist about it. And I was like, oh yeah, like I needed to have like a purity meeting with my bishop. And she was like, the what? And I was like, oh yeah, like they interview you about like this stuff and they ask you like how many times have you had sex, did you enjoy it, and all these questions. And so my experience was not consensual, but that didn't matter because I was the woman. I was supposed to say no, even though I fucking did. And so then I wasn't, you know, allowed to take the sacrament for a year. I had to bear my testimony once every month, and I wasn't allowed to say prayers in any form of meeting. And I remember just like the shame and embarrassment from that when I was asked to say a prayer, or when the older women noticed that I wasn't taking the sacrament, they come up, I noticed you didn't take the sacrament this week. Are you okay?
I'm like, no, bitch, I'm not. My bishop says I'm a fucking whore because like this asshole decided to take advantage of me. And like,
well, that's the thing is that you know,
that makes me so angry.
That's the crux of it.
So sorry
that
that
was
happened.
the bishop that we both had in youth.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
I know. I had so much respect for him, and then that happened, and like my parents knew, they didn't fucking care. The bishop knew, he didn't fucking care. Like it was my responsibility to stop that. And obviously,
but you're not like, as like young women being, you know, brought up in the church, you are not given like the resources or like the education you need to be able to give informed consent.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You like it's not an option. Like you've been programmed your entire life to be submissive, to honor the patriarchy, you know, to like live in this way, and then like suddenly it's your responsibility to make sure that like these things don't happen. Like what the fuck?
And I'm like, here's a concept.
Yeah.
Is that if, you know, this has happened to you and your whole life you've been told you need to follow a priesthood leadership.
Yeah.
You need to respect the men in your life. You need to do what they say, and you do it. Why does it then come back on you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is that at the end of the day, why wouldn't their priesthood power tell them, oh, this is wrong, not throw it back on you for, you know, having a sexual relationship when you didn't even choose to.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, so my experience, you know, because I waited until marriage to have sex, but before that, like, it was tough. Like, I was a teenager. I was enjoying being with my partner. Like, I loved him a lot, and I was like, I just want to live with this guy. Like, anyway, and like, and of course, you sort of like the natural progression of a relationship eventually includes having sex. And so that was like a feeling that we both sort of, you know, like we wanted to be able to enjoy that together, and it felt like it would be right for us. But like before that, it was sort of just a constant battle, like being like, okay, we can't like make out too long because then I'll start to have
what was
like,
your rule? Like 5 seconds
I
or
don't
something?
know. Yeah, it was something like that. And like, and it was like, okay, you can't like, you know, no touching in any sort of genital areas. Oh man, you remember,
when we were camping and you were like, he touched my stomach. And I was just like, bitch, I'm covered in hickeys right now.
I think our rule was like no touching underneath where garments would be. And at that point, like,
so everywhere.
Yeah. Like,
we're talking about the winter garments, by the way.
Yeah. And this guy, like, you know, like he was a returned missionary. Like he already had been endowed and had garments and stuff, but I didn't. And we had gone on a road trip and we'd been camping somewhere, and
it was great fun.
It was a lot of fun. It was such a good experience. But anyway, he like we were like laying together at some point and like making out and stuff, and like he'd like put his hand like on my belly, and I just remember that being like, oh my god, he touched my belly.
He touched my knee.
And then so our other friend that now has
and I was like, am I a whore now?
Well, my friend that came with us just told me, because we were reminiscing about that, and I was like, oh yeah, remember when Sister Donna was like, he touched my stomach? And then she was like, oh yeah, you remember when my boyfriend and I went off to get Macca's? And I was like, yeah. She was like, and I was like, oh my god, what? Here you were freaking out because he touched his stomach, and there she was giving the good old Glock 2000.
But yeah, we would, like my ex and I, like we would make out and stuff, but it was always like I always felt so guilty about it. I'm like, this is too much. Like, this is arousing feelings in me, which means that it's sinful. Like, you know, and like, you know, because of those things happening, you're just like, we need to fucking get married. Like, I can't keep doing this forever. And anyway, so we got married, and we did like, I felt at the time pretty proud of the fact that we'd been able to like make it until marriage. Oh, the other thing that I should mention, I guess, is that before we got married, of course, because I wanted to make sure that we were entirely like pure and worthy, I had to repent of some things I had been doing as a teenager, because there was a time when, like, you know, you're a teenager, your body's changing, like, you're exploring yourself, and, you know, like, and I think, like, you know, for men, it's sort of like expected that this will happen And
I
like,
touch myself.
yeah,
I want you
Like,
to know.
teenage boys are just known to like constantly be jacking off, but like I feel like for young women it's like, oh, girls don't do that. Like, but
Wait,
I mean,
girls don't masturbate. What are you talking about? Girls, there's no way for them
We
to do
don't
that.
have a penis, okay?
Yeah,
We
That is
can't
not in the law of
do that.
chastity.
I know. But anyway, so like I had done stuff like that as a teenager, and I hadn't like repented of that, and I was like, okay, look, like I know that I'd gone to, you know, like the temple and done baptisms for my ancestors and stuff, and there were times where I had lied
dirty
through.
pig.
Unclean.
Yeah, there are times that I had lied through some interviews there, but I was like, God will forgive me for their sake. Like,
You know what makes me laugh is when you lie at temple recommends and then they're like, yes, you are worthy. And it's like,
Where's your gift to the sermon now, bitch?
yeah. but I also was just like, I mean, God wouldn't like punish my ancestors for my actions, would they? Like, I was
oh
like,
no, definitely.
I was
They're
like,
all
no,
damned.
I'm sure their baptisms are still valid.
Sorry,
Maybe.
you were baptized by a whore. That does not count. Sorry, turn around. What's that? What's that game? Go straight to
Monopoly.
go straight home.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Yep. Yep.
I
They're
don't
just
know what
like,
you're talking
sorry, do not pass the heavenly gates. Turn around, go back. Do not pass. Like,
Invalid pass.
yeah.
You know, I guess
Straight to jail.
Sorry to my ancestors if the church does turn out to be true and you didn't get salvation because I touched myself.
You wanked off.
Like,
You wanked off in the temple bathroom.
no, I would never do anything that.
Oh, God, could you imagine that?
I tell you what, though, like the change rooms
They
in the
don't.
temple bathrooms, they don't-
They're a bit
especially-
breezy.
and especially when everyone's walking around in like these wet.
Towels.
I mean,
suits.
for you might have really enjoyed.
It doesn't leave a lot to the imagination.
Well, yeah, dude,
I love
yeah,
going to the temple.
that's true.
As a bisexual, I agree.
Yeah, so anyway, so I was like, okay, but like getting married, like I'm like, this is really important to me. I don't want to fuck this up. I want to make sure that our covenant is like legit. Like, and so I was like, I need to repent so that like I am absolutely 100% like guilt-free, 100% like worthy to do this. And anyway, and like I remember talking to my bishop at the time, which was the bishop
Same one?
after. No, it was the bishop after that
Our
one.
young woman leader's husband?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I had told him about
He
like
was a bit of a dick, if
my
I'm being
previous
honest.
transgressions. Yeah, I think like I don't know if he was just like new to the job, and I don't know if there's like a set protocol or if it's just sort of go off your inspiration or whatever. But anyway, but he was like, yeah, you're gonna need to have like 3 months of probation, and I'm like, whoa, like 3 months. And probation is where, I guess for people who may not like know, it's where you like can't take the sacrament, you can't give prayers in classes, like
The bishop watches you while you shower.
it's very obvious that like you have done something wrong. Like everybody can see that you're not taking the sacrament. And I remember like going to an institute class. It was temple prep classes actually. And the like teachers in the like she had asked me to like give an opening prayer, and I had to be like, I'm sorry, I can't at the moment. I'm not allowed to. And like, and she understood and was like, oh, okay. But
Oh.
like, yeah, but it was just like so awkward because they're just like,
What was that? You can't give a prayer because you're not worthy?
yeah.
That's okay. It's okay if you're not worthy.
That just brought up a repressed memory.
Oh, really?
So I remember in
Triggered.
that meeting that I had with that bishop where I told him everything, and he asked me, oh, how many times did you have sex? And in my head I was like, it wasn't sex. So I was
Yeah.
like, I kind of was like, I don't know. He was like, well, I need to know if we need to do a disciplinary council with
My
you.
days.
What, is there like a certain number of times it has to happen to have
Apparently,
a disciplinary count?
2.75 times.
Any more than once in it, that's
And I'm
that's
like,
no good.
You knew
I'm
what
sorry,
it was.
I wasn't keeping count.
Three strikes and
it's
you're
all just
out.
a blur, buddy.
You
Yeah.
knew what it was when you picked it up.
I'm a snake.
I'm a stinky snake.
Oh God. But yeah, I don't know why, but you saying that just like it was like
Triggered.
That makes
we
me
will
so
give you a
mad.
disciplinary council if you do not tell me how many times you've had sex. I didn't know
That's
what was
so
a normal amount
invasive.
of time, and so
Yeah.
when it happened, it was really like I have PTSD from it, so it was
Yeah.
super traumatic.
Yeah.
Like was locked in a room for a few days,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so I was like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember half of it. So
Yeah.
I told him, I was like, I don't know, like 30.
Oh
like,
my
I don't know what a
God.
normal amount of times having, like, it happened
Jesus.
multiple
Is
times.
that
Yeah.
impressive?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what he wants to know.
He's just like, you
It was very stressful. And I was like
Yeah.
18 at the time. So
Yeah.
my boyfriend at the time, we started dating when I was 16 and he
Yeah.
groomed me.
Yeah.
And then he was pretty much waiting for me to not be a minor, so it wasn't
That'll do it.
statutory rape. So yeah. So that was
That's
great
so
fun.
fucked.
That was a really great experience.
Jesus.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just very confused when they were like getting really mad at me, like, you need to tell me how many times. I was like,
Tell me.
Why do you need to know that?
Yeah,
I was
the last
like,
time someone
far
asked me
out.
that in a priesthood interview was the day I walked out and never went
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Good on you. I wish I had done that,
Yeah.
but yeah, just
mean, at
being
the
told we
time-
need to be submissive, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, like I need to, like yeah, and that was another thing. I'm trying to repent of this sin that I committed
Yeah.
when, like, I have the knowledge now that it was not my fault. I
Yeah.
did not
It
consent to
wasn't.
that. That was
Mhm.
not a consensual relationship in
Yeah.
the slightest.
Yeah.
And like having to heal from that. But yeah, just the whole I need to repent for this super traumatic thing that happened to me was very confusing and painful, I guess,
Yeah.
for lack of other word. Like
Yeah.
being told that I was the one at fault for this super shitty thing that happened was really difficult.
On
Yeah.
a sidetrack.
Yep. Bitch, that is my foot.
Bloody cats. Nearly all of the women that I've spoken to since leaving the church and speaking about, their first sexual encounters, they've pretty much all had similar experiences where a man has taken advantage of them and then they've been blamed for that.
Yep.
Like,
It's really tragic. Like, and I think, the church really does breed, like, yeah, and I'm sure that there are plenty of good men in the church that are respectful and are nice to women. Like my ex-husband who I was with, like, he was a good guy. Like he did wait and he was respectful of my boundaries. And like, we both wanted the same things. We both wanted to wait till marriage and everything. But like, I can see how easy it is for men in the church to think like, I am a man. I am superior. These girls are, dressing like that. Like they're obviously asking for it. I'm just a man. Like I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Like, and they don't really feel the same sort of like responsibility, I guess, about it. And I don't know, maybe their like sexual urges are stronger than women. But yeah, like I think, that, the way that the youth are brought up to think about these things has really like, significant impacts on the beliefs that young men and young women have about sex, and they are not healthy.
yeah.
And it can really foster like this environment of abuse and taking advantage of people who are in vulnerable situations and control and manipulation. Like it's really awful.
My thing is
it's like that.
like the fact that they feel they're entitled
Yeah.
to things. So I a couple years ago, I was watching that show on Netflix. I think it was called Moxie or something. It was about, the whole feminist, like, pretty much for me, it was the start of my, speaking up and stuff. And I remember my dad walking in and for some reason getting triggered by that, and he just went off his nut, and pretty much by the end of the argument he told me that I had deserved what happened to me because
What?
I was staying at this man's house. I was under the same roof.
Holy
So
shit.
that entitled him to me. I was
That's
so
insane.
mad. I was living with him at the time I had my partner and my daughter. I remember walking in to Brother May and grabbing my child and being like, I am leaving. I do not know when I'll be back, but I'm not staying here.
Holy
And that is
shit.
the only time I have ever truly been so disgusted and angry at my father.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, like, and it's really sad because the thing is, like, you know, the issues that happen with the whole law of chastity are not only like I think they're experienced a lot in adolescence and stuff, but even when you do get married and you're in that committed relationship, like, rape can still occur.
Yeah.
Marital rape is definitely a thing. Just because we are married does not mean that, like, you are entitled to my body. But that is not, like, that's not the message that's perpetuated in the church.
No.
The message that's perpetuated in the church is that, like, you know, I am the the one who presides in the home. I'm the one who gets you into heaven. I am the one with the priesthood. Like, I am superior to you. You need to please me so that I stay with you and so that I can give you salvation. So
Coming from
do what I say, because
My
otherwise,
sperm enters you into heaven.
coming from a male that was a priesthood holder, I can confirm that.
yeah,
That is what you're taught. You're taught
Yeah.
that women are less than you and that women are there to do what you tell them to.
Yeah.
And they need to respect that, whether that be emotional, whether that be physical, whether that be sexual.
yeah,
They don't get a say.
yeah,
And it is such a terrible excuse of a church
yeah.
that allows boys and men to grow up thinking that they can own women.
Yeah. And it's really sad. Like, I used to be part of this Facebook group for a little while. It was for women who were part of the church, and it was like this community group and like sexuality.
Healthy. Yes,
yeah,
we
yeah.
were. I don't know how I managed to get on there as a less active, not married person, but holy shit, I lived for the drama there.
Oh man, so much drama, because every other day there would be a woman on there who's like, you know, I caught my husband watching porn, like, I'm obviously not good enough, like, what can I do to make him, like, you know, like, not sin and want me more, like, or it was always about, like, how the woman could, like, please her husband more even though her needs weren't being met, like, and like, that just, like, all of that just made me so mad. Like, you know, I think I got, you know, very lucky really with the partner that I ended up with, that I was married to for a while, because, like, he was very respectful of my boundaries and stuff. Like, I have like, you know, I had experienced, you know, some sexual trauma, like, before, like, we had gotten married, and, you know, but, like, you know, so he sort of understood me and was really, like, respectful and whatever. But that is not, like, I think, like, reading those stories and hearing about other people's experiences, it seems like that's more of a rarity than what's the norm, really. Yeah, like, it was more you know, like, these women were just like, how do I please my husband? How do I keep him from, like, wanting to look up porn or wanting to, you know, leave this relationship and get remarried to somebody else? Like, you know, and it's, yeah, like, it was just really depressing to see so many of those things. And the other thing was that, like, a lot of the other really common things that came up was, you know, it would be like, my friend is about to get married, and, like, she doesn't know, like, anything about sex, like, what should I tell her to help her prepare for things? And, like, most of the comments were just like, just use lots of lube.
A whole bottle of lube.
Use 2 bottles of lube.
Just to be sure.
Yeah.
I remember driving the car
wild.
with you one time, and we were just chatting, and then you're like, oh my God, like, hurry up and get married so we can talk about sex.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because,
And
like,
I remember sitting next to you and be like, I can talk about sex. Like, I literally
Yeah.
had sex last night. Like, why can't we talk about it?
But for me, it was sort of like it's taboo to talk about sex with, like, you can't normalize, like, you know, sex outside of marriage and
adultery.
like accept it as okay because that's such like a
You were just
grave
trying to be
sin.
a good influence on me, okay?
Yeah,
That's
and
all.
like
Your
when you
sex
get
is
married,
not valid sex.
yeah,
Sorry,
your
we're not
sex doesn't
married,
count.
brother May. Sorry.
Yeah, and anyway, it's just like the whole thing makes me really depressed. But yeah, and there's just so many like women, I think, and probably men as well, that will get married and just have no fucking clue like what they're getting into. And of course, the other thing,
You're not a missionary for no reason.
there were so many. Oh my god, there were so many things that came up that, like, you know, these women would, you know, they would, you know, because we were brought up to like not talk about sex. It's not okay. It's a horrible sin. Like thinking about it, doing anything that's close to it is awful. It makes you a bad person. You're impure. And then suddenly, as soon as you're married, it's like, have as much sex as you want. This is perfectly acceptable. This is what you've been working to, this blah, blah, blah. And it's such a like contrast to what you've been like, you know, conditioned to believe your whole life. And so there's women that like will have sex for the first time and it will be a really deeply like kind of traumatic experience for them where they're just like, I feel really dirty and guilty and like this is awful and sinful because their whole life they've been taught to think that way. And just because you happen to get married that day, like, you know, you don't always get like the time to sort of process that and to be able to flip your thinking about it like in an instant.
Imagine
That doesn't
like,
just happen for everyone.
imagining your wedding night and thinking of, yeah, I'll try some. Like this. Sorry, hold on. I'm getting a refill. Imagining this beautiful, intimate, perfect Hollywood style night with your husband to, like, let's be honest, the first time you have sex is gonna be shit.
It's
not gonna be
always
great,
going to be
guys.
shit.
You don't know what you're doing, like,
Especially for these girls as well, like all they've seen of sex in the media, because, you know, remember that like we're not allowed to watch movies that are above like an M rating or whatever. Like you're like, you know, unless you have like, you know, been a human being and like dabbled in like looking at porn or like talking to people about it. Like if
I have
you've
a confession.
Oh,
I've never
Yes,
watched
my
porn.
child. What?
ever?
Ever.
Really?
Whoa.
So
Holy shit.
I'm still deconstructing
Oh.
a lot of the law of chastity at the moment. So there's
Wow.
like sex positions,
Blah, blah, blah.
yeah, sex positions that I still get super guilty about.
Really?
I mentally cannot watch porn, and I can't masturbate.
Really?
I just
Wow.
can't do it. I just get too in my head about it.
Wowza.
So I'm still deconstructing that at
This
the
is
moment.
such a revelation to me.
That is
I had
a
no
revelation.
idea.
It's
'Cause
crazy.
That's wild.
I thought you were way more like sexually
Bruno.
progressive than me. Because like I feel.
Well, it's interesting because it's sort of like it'd be interesting to see, you know, once you've broken down those walls
Yeah.
in however long it takes, you know, checking back in and saying, okay, what's the difference now versus then? 'Cause,
Yeah.
like,
I bought my first toy.
Yes, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't
Yes,
buy
queen.
it. It was a friend. It was a gift from our friend for my birthday.
Nice.
She bought me one of those special remote control ones.
Fuck yeah.
So fun. Oh my God. I did not realize how fun they were.
Toys are a game changer, man.
that's just like I've never met, you know, in terms of like having a conversation with somebody that has only ever just had sex
Yeah.
and nothing
Just-
else.
Well, like, freaking head.
I mean, okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Maybe there's a lot I'm missing out on still.
You've
Sorry,
given
guys.
head and received head, but not touched yourself. Like,
Like, I have, but I've never gotten myself off.
oh,
Interesting.
really?
Like, I just can't. I can with my new toy, though, which is
of course.
amazing. I love that.
Interesting.
But
Dude,
yeah,
like-
it gets too much in my head with all of the law of chastity stuff still that I just, I cannot.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. There is just a mental block.
Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry to all
I
the
can-
people
I
that
can
are close
agree.
to us that listen to this podcast. Like,
I'm so sorry.
just stop listening right now.
Yeah,
'Cause
guys,
they're-
if you don't
they're-
want to know the intimate
Those
details
very
about
intimate
sex
details.
lives, tune out now.
But it's like, for me, like, I watched porn since I was like, I got busted when I was 11.
Yeah, well,
Like-
you know, boys be boys.
Boys be boys.
See, look, I was driving the car with one of my friends and he found out I've never seen porn or something. No, I think I asked him what BDSM was.
All right.
And he was like, it's this, and showed me like 3 seconds of a BDSM porn. And then I
you're
confessed
just
to
like,
Brother May, I was like, oh no, I don't watch porn, because he does. That was another thing I had to deconstruct, was him watching porn was not cheating on me.
Yeah.
It was not like,
I
for me, like I had
remember-
to learn that it was not
Yeah.
anything to reflect on myself or our relationship.
Yeah, I remember like us having discussions about this while I was married, and
Yeah.
like, you know,
I was so upset. I was so ready to leave him.
when I was
feel
at
so bad.
TBM, I was just like, oh my God, like, I don't think this guy loves you. What a piece of shit.
I know. I remember being like, is my body not good enough for you?
And
sir?"
now, as a more
Jesus.
evolved adult, I'm like, oh yeah, that's fine, whatever.
Well, it's funny because a lot of those discussions still happen on some of the ex-mo pages that I follow.
Yeah.
And it's like my husband or my boyfriend watches porn and I just don't know what to do about it. And it's like, watching porn does not equal infidelity.
Yeah, well, the thing for me is that, like, because, like, I think it's also something that's not really discussed a lot outside of the church either. And, like, so for me, I'm like, I don't know what, like, the normal, like, what is normal outside
kinda
of the
feel like
church?
it's
Because inside the church, it's like porn of any kind, no, absolutely not.
Oh my God, I
completely,
saw
like,
your shoulders.
forbidden.
Ugh.
Yeah. But,
Show
like,
me your knees.
outside of the church,
All
I'm
those
like,
ankles.
outside of the church, I'm just like, what is like an okay, normal, acceptable amount of porn? And
Is
I think
it like a one-on-one basis? So like every relationship is different. So one relationship, yes, porn is cheating, and then another relationship, oh no, we watch porn together. See, I've always wanted to try like watching porn together, because I just couldn't watch it by myself at this point.
See, for me, like when like I've only ever like dabbled really in a little bit here and there, and like for me it's just, and I don't know, I guess maybe perhaps I haven't found the right kind of porn for me.
You should
You
try
do gotta
lesbian
sample a
porn.
lot
I've
of
heard
stuff.
that's good.
But like for me it's just like, man, these bitches are totally faking, like, and also like the porn videos I've seen, like the girls are like these fucking supermodels, like amazingly good looking, and they'll be just like banging a guy that's like just
0 out of 10.
so a 0 out of 10, and I'm like, girl, you could do so much better.
I take my hat off to porn stars.
And
Like,
like I'm like, you're definitely
I could
faking. This is
not
so unrealistic. Like and I can't shake that from my head. I'm like, this is not hot for me. Like I don't like. It's clear that you're.
I lie. I've seen it 3 times. So one time, one of my lesbian friends sent me a lesbian porn link,
Oh yeah.
and it was like a GIF of lesbian porn.
Yeah.
That was hot.
Well, I tried watching lesbian porn, and I also like felt like, because I think the one that I watched, because you know, like I'm trying to like, I got out of the church and I was
Broad-minded.
like, am I really straight? And anyway, and like, you know, I remember like watching
broaden your horizons.
some lesbian porn video, and I still like, and I think maybe the one that I had watched maybe was just too choreographed, but it also sort of just felt a bit like fake and like very scripted and stuff, and like, yeah, and I don't know, for me it was like, yeah, but that's sort of how I feel about like straight porn as well that I've seen. Like it was sort of on the same level where I was like, well, it just doesn't
wanna-
feel
next.
You know something funny
real.
though? Like, I enjoy watching straight porn for the story of it.
Really?
Really? Wait, there's a storyline?
You,
Well,
like,
sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes it's like these scandalous storylines, and it's the funniest shit
Oh
ever.
my God, I want to watch it now.
But what really bothers me is like if you go onto like, because I would always just like go onto Pornhub and then just like scroll through, and like fucking like 9 out of 10 of these videos is like, oh, my stepsister, like what,
There
you
is
know?
so, like, it's such a big thing in the porn community at the moment
Yeah.
to have like a distant relative, like
Yeah.
stepson, stepmother.
It's like almost incestuous, but
Yeah.
like not really because you're
Borderline.
not blood related, but like you're
Yeah.
living in the same house, and I'm like, this is gross.
And it's like,
Yeah, it's a bit-
where does this come from?
I don't like
See,
this.
I follow porn stars on like TikTok and
Yeah.
stuff, which I find super interesting. So there's this one chick that I follow. I think she goes by the name of Isla Moon. Fuck, she's hot. Oh my god. Her TikToks make me want to watch porn.
Boobies,
Yeah, pretty much.
chastiddies.
Chastiddies.
I mean, she's got those chesty titties. I think I'm getting a bit
I think we're nearly,
tipsy?
I think we're nearly
tipsy.
ready for the word of wisdom.
Yeah, a couple more drinks and I'm
I think
done.
the other thing with porn for me is like, you know, for like yeah, it makes me feel like self-conscious about my body.
Yes, same. I'm like,
I'm just
oh my
like,
God.
I don't look like that. Am I supposed to look like that? And like, yeah, I think I can see, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I think like generally, you know, men are like more into porn than women. And I think that's because like most porn is really like geared towards men and what they would want to see. And
Do women, is that how women get themselves off? Like they watch porn, like men watch porn and, you know,
yeah,
have a
well,
pull?
some women like
Is that how it works for women? Am I just missing something?
For me,
like,
for me, most of the time, like the time, yeah, like I would
You just
only,
have to picture your quad.
yeah, like I've only
my
ever
quad.
like
Yeah, your Bible, Book of Mormon, Pearl Great Pious, and Doctrine and Covenants.
just grind, man.
no.
Should be right, bud.
I think it's different. Like, I think it's all on an individual basis. Like, some people really need that, like, visual, like, stimulus to get them going. But then, like, for other people, like, for
I
me,
wonder if it would work with my smut.
maybe,
I'm
yeah.
gonna try
Look,
that.
if it gets you hot and heavy,
If it works, it works.
that's it. Like, imagination is key.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it just, like, varies person by person. For me, like, sometimes I can just, like, think about, like, other sexual experiences that I've had that were really hot, and I'm like, damn, that was really nice.
Like
What?
that guy flexing in the mirror.
Not that guy.
I remember
No.
your Halloween party. I was pissed. And I remember our friend leaning over and being like, that's the guy. And I had to bite my tongue so hard. You know me when I'm drunk. I have no filter. I remember like literally biting on my tongue because I was about to be like, oi, you had sex with this sister Donna, bitch.
My self-respect has never been lower.
I laughed so hard when I found out he was flexing in the mirror. I was like, okay, buddy.
Like, that shit made me so
Gave you the
fucking
ick.
mad. Like, I'm like, I can't believe. Like,
Did you
I was-
see it happening?
No.
Oh
Like,
my
I had
God.
no
How did you
idea.
know he did it?
The thing is, like, that whole situation made me so fucking pissed off. And, like, and then the fact that I, like, saw him again after that makes me so
Was
pissed
that
off
the
at
one
me.
that helped you and Brother Hiram move your house?
Yeah.
Oh.
I told him about this podcast. I wonder if he listens.
Sorry, dude.
Oh,
You're
guy.
You're Ginger Ninja.
See, that's your problem. He was a ginger.
Yeah.
Sorry to our friend's boyfriend who was also a ginger.
Also, sorry to my boyfriend if you listen to this.
I'm
I
actually
love you.
ginger,
That was a
though.
different time. I was not okay.
It's funny because I'm ginger, although I dyed my hair last night. Well,
I thought it looked
my
different.
husband dyed my hair.
I had no idea until he told me.
It's really subtle.
It
but
is.
Yeah.
It looks nice. You
It's
did a
taken
good.
out the orange
Did you notice
undertones.
I dyed my hair?
Yeah, I
Oh
noticed.
my god.
You look more ginger now.
But you always have that hair color. I feel like you just continually dye it that color.
Well, not really. I dyed it this color at the start of the year, and then I got bored a couple weeks ago and found this color in a box under my sink. So I was like, "Yeah, we're going red."
At least you're not one of those people that consistently dye their hair like jet black.
Oh
Just
no,
to try
yeah,
and look young, but it's really painfully obvious.
yeah. See, I like the cool, bold colors.
Yeah.
I
Just,
went
colour me
platinum
up,
blonde a
bitch.
couple of years ago.
You dyed your hair like a light, like not like an auburn red.
I love it. It's so nice.
That's
it's
not
a cool
bold.
red.
I want to see you with green hair.
I'd
Well,
prob-
I
I'd probably
bought
go
some
platinum
hair
again.
bleach, so I
Ooh.
could go green if I wanted to.
Should I dye my hair pink?
Do it.
Do it.
You should do like that under thing where they like.
At least I won't lose you at work.
Yeah, this is true.
I think
Anyway.
we got a little distracted.
Hey, we
Sorry,
did, we
guys.
did.
Back to the law of Chastiddies.
So that's well, basically
Yeah.
what it is. Like a lot of it comes down to the fear factor.
Yeah.
You grow up fearing
Yeah.
the unknown. You don't get taught sex ed. You don't get taught how to have safe sexual relationships. You don't get taught anything about safe sex.
You don't get taught anything about
Even
consent.
the aftercare. Okay, I had no idea we had to pee after sex. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you'd get UTIs.
And the other thing is that like nobody teaches you that you can say no to your husband if you want
Yeah.
to.
We have that discussion regularly,
Yeah.
my husband and I, is
That's so good.
unless there is a clear yes, even 7 years later. Unless there's a
Silence
clear
does
yes.
not equal yes.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
It does not. Yes means yes. Everything else means no.
And like the other thing is that like I remember hearing this somewhere. It might have been in another like podcast, but consent is such a low bar. Like it shouldn't be consent. It should be like
An
somebody
enthusiastic.
should be an enthusiasm for it. Like you should want your partner to be like, yes, I want this.
Yes,
This is-
Daddy.
Yes. Like, you know, they shouldn't just be like, I mean, okay, I guess. Like, sure. Like, you know, it should be enthusiastic and it should be enjoyable for both people. And
You should never feel pressured to say yes.
yeah. And I like,
Why would you want to have sex when you're pressuring someone into it?
It
They're
would not
obviously
be
not going to enjoy
enjoyable.
it.
no. Anyway, I do think that coming out of the church and being able to like that was one of the really freeing things about not being in the church anymore.
I
Is not
remember.
feeling the shame anymore about like just being in my body, like and exploring it, you know, figuring out what I liked and didn't like. Like I went through a little bit of a hoe phase when I was like probably not in the best mental state, and I saw for myself that like that wasn't for me.
That was
And-
before we met Brother Hiram, hey?
yeah, but it
You
was
missed
good.
out. It was great.
Like as troublesome as that experience was, like I learned a lot about myself. I was like, this doesn't feel right to me. Like I don't really want to have sex with somebody that doesn't really know me because they don't know what I like and I don't really trust them, and it feels like kind of like on one hand it's either scary or it's like you kind of give me the ick, like, or like, you know,
The
and
ick
it's
factor.
just not that
Cheese
enjoyable.
touch.
Like, I firmly believe that the best sex is with like somebody that you, and I mean, and it might be different. Like for the people who have like, you know, like non-committal sex and like are living their best life and enjoying it and having a great time, like go you.
Go
like
off, sis.
do whatever the fuck like you think is best for you and what feels right for you, and if that empowers you, go you. Like that is amazing. For me personally, like it like I just didn't really feel that.
That's fair.
And like, and I'm sure it's like it's different for everybody. But yeah, in my opinion, like the best sex is with like somebody that you've been with for a long time that sort of knows your body, knows what you like, and like,
Well, that's
you know,
the trick of it. Is
and where
that
there's
you
a bit
learn.
of like affection to it as well. Like it's not just like you're just a body that I'm here to like.
Intimacy
fuck,
is more than
like-
sex.
Yeah, exactly.
you gotta have a little bit of both.
Yeah, I think so.
As a fun fact, this is a very intimate piece of information about me.
Yes.
Is my V plates were turned in on top of a Camry in a rooftop tent
Yeah,
in a
Love
parking
that.
lot in New Zealand.
That's glorious.
how romantic. Mine was in a motel in T-Town.
Oh,
You're gonna hate me when I
motel.
tell you what I class as my first time.
Really?
It's in the front seat of my car.
Gross.
Yeah, that you've sat in. Sorry.
How
filthy.
uncomfortable.
I know. I'm so sorry. The amount of times you've sat there. And I've just been like,
Oh!
it's the passenger seat. Sorry, mate.
Jeez.
I'm gonna have to put more of a viewer discretion at the front of this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This got very,
I mean,
mature audiences only.
we're all a bit. I think. I mean, I'm I'm feeling a bit tipsy at
Yeah,
this.
definitely.
Yeah,
a bit
I'm just
tipsy.
like, I'm
gonna
like
crack another bottle of wine
five
in
and a
a minute.
half tipsy.
We might need to like listen to this before releasing and make sure that I'm not revealing too much.
Yeah, so we'll probably have to cut some of this out.
I'll like listen to this sober and be like, oh my god, I can't believe I said that to the world.
Well, for those of you that have complaints now, you can reach out to
sorry.
somebody other than us. Actually, no, please reach out to us. 'cause
Please don't
we
ask
can
me
filter it.
any questions about my sex life.
Do it.
Once
Ask
upon-
her all the questions.
onceupon-a-mormon@gmail.com. Or you can get in touch with us on Facebook or Instagram at Once Upon a Mormon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool story.
Yeah, and like, and if you guys have any like, you know, experiences, you know, negative experiences with the law of chastity or anything like that, like, you know, and you just want to chat to somebody about it, like, you know, we're all here to listen, and you can help you through that. Yeah, and don't like feel, please don't ever feel like that's reduced your worth or anything. Like, that's the biggest thing for me, I think, is that, you know, the law of chastity is so tied with our worth. You know, our purity equals like our worth as a person, and like that's just not true.
You're worth more than your temper recommend.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thing is, it doesn't matter. Like, you are human, you have impulses, and being able to act on those things like in a consensual manner is absolutely okay, and you know, it should be celebrated and not shamed.
You do you, boo.
And don't accept
do you,
anything
boo.
less than what you feel is your worth.
Yep.
Yeah,
No means no.
Mhm.
exactly.
Yes means yes. And really, so anything else other than yes means no.
Yep.
Love it.
Amen.
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 And if anybody wants to express their story, tell their story, look, we're here. If you want to be on the podcast, you can be 100% anonymous.
We
We don't even have
have
to know your name.
room for anybody and everybody for whatever story you have. You are not a waste of our space or time.
That's it. We don't have to know your name.
Yep.
You can share it. It can be 5 minutes. It can be an hour and a half. More than
We're
that,
here.
and it takes a lot of editing time.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's why we have Brother Hiram.
That's
Yeah.
it. But it's been quite a bit of time. So
Yep.
we'll leave these things with you in the name of Joseph Smith's 14 wives. Amen.
Amen.
I heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this, a fourth, a fifth, the minor fall and the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, hallelujah.